In this video, we will look at how to create time-off policies. To begin creating your time-off policies, go to the Settings menu at the left side of your screen and click on Time-off Policies. One of the most common ways to set up your policies is based upon length of service. In this example, the vacation allowance on the 1-year policy is 5 days. The vacation allowance on the 2 years policy is 8 days. And then the vacation allowance on the 5 years policy is 10 days. Let's create a new policy called 10 years, which a user would receive at 10 years of service. We'll add 5 sick days and 15 vacation days to this policy. Start by clicking Add New at the top right. Now give your policy a name, then click Continue. Next, we have to add time-off types to the policy. Do so by clicking on Add Time-off Type to Policy. Choose the time-off type in the drop-down menu at the top. Then select when the policy will renew. Typically, this would be at the beginning of the calendar year or on the employee's anniversary. If you want the policy to renew on their anniversary, leave this field blank. There is one other step we need to take to ensure it will renew on their anniversary, but we will look at that at the end of this video. Next is the yearly allowance. This is the amount of time, in days or hours, an employee is allowed to have in a year. Following the yearly allowance is the default balance. If an employee doesn't currently have a policy on their account, this will be the balance they will receive once the policy is applied. If default balance is set to full, then the employees will receive their full allowance right away. In this case, they'll get the full 5 days in their balance. If it's set to empty, they won't receive anything in their balance. If you have set up a prorated balance, you'll be able to select it from here. Upon renewal is the action that will take place when the policy renews. Some of the commonly used options are reset the full allowance, which means that any unused time is removed and the user is given a full allowance. Reset to empty allowance, which means any unused time is removed and no time is added to the balance. Carry over all means that all unused time is carried over to the next year. Carry over all plus full allowance means that all unused time is carried over to the next year, plus they receive the full allowance in their balance. Carry over limit means they can only carry over a specified amount of time. And carry over limit plus full allowance means they can carry over a specified amount of time and receive the full allowance in their balance. If your employees accrue time, you are able to configure this by first setting the accrual interval. Time can be accrued daily, weekly, every X month, semi-monthly, or every 2 weeks. For this example, we will select every X month. We will also choose to have time accrued every month on the first day of the month. Now enter the amount of time your employees accrue. This can be entered in hours, days, or a percentage of the allowance. Next, select when the policy will accrue until. We're going to look at 3 of the most commonly used options. Balance is full means the accrual will continue as long as there's room in their balance. Using the example of 15 days, if 10 days are carried over from the previous year, then 5 days will be accrued. If they use any of those days, the accrual will start again. Max balance of allows you to set a balance at which the policy will stop accruing. If the max balance has been reached and the employee uses some of that time, it will continue to accrue again. Until allowance is full means the accrual will continue until the number that is set in the allowance is reached in the balance. In this case, 15 days will be accrued. If there is a carryover of 10 days, then the full 15 days will still accrue, making their total for that year 25. Next are restrictions. Restrictions determine how the employee can take time off. Balance required means they have to have the time in their balance in order to take time off. Allowed pre-book means they can book time off at any point in the year as long as they're going to accrue it in the future. Allow overbook allows users to take off as much time as they like. Accrued by date means they can request time off as long as they would have accrued the time by the date of the request. Allow pre-book and accrued by date are only used when an accrual is set on the policy. Once you've finished adding a time off type to the policy, click Add and you'll be brought back to the time off policy settings. If you have any other deductible time off types to add to the policy, you can add them at this point. Remember, you can have multiple time off types in one policy. Once you've finished creating your policies, go back to the time off policy list to apply the policy to your users. Click the Apply Policy button to select the users the policy applies to, then click the Apply Policy button at the bottom. At the beginning of this video, we mentioned that if you wanted a policy to renew on the hired date, there was one more setting to change. This setting is found in Account Settings under the General tab and is called User Calendar Year Setting. Turn on the Match Calendar Year to Hired Date switch so that the policy will renew on the user's anniversary. Once you've finished creating and applying your policies, you'll be ready to create your length of service accruals.